Alright, so in this tutorial we're going to talk to you a little bit about nesting images in Illustrator, what that is and why you should never ever do it. So nesting an image in Illustrator basically means when you're placing a Photoshop file into an Illustrator file. So here we have a photo and we're not live tracing it, we're just pasting it, or placing it rather, file place, or drag dropping into an Illustrator file. This is bad for a lot of reasons, because if you do this and then you save the file, and worse, then you bring it into another software like say InDesign, you're going to cause yourself so many nightmares with this printing out. One of the main reasons is that Photoshop is a pixel-based software. So if I were to zoom in as close as I can, you can see that it's these little squares. Those are pixels. Illustrator, however, is a vector-based software, so it's not based on pixels at all. It's based off of lines. So when you're placing a Photoshop file into Illustrator, this is how Illustrator sees it. Notice how it doesn't see anything other than it sees that something's there. Not sure what it is. It's not vector-based, and I'm a vector-based software, so I'm going to kind of take a guess at how this thing is supposed to look when it prints out. And then you bring something like this into InDesign, and InDesign is going to look at it under two lenses. It's an Illustrator file. I should be seeing vectors, but I'm not. Illustrator doesn't even really know what this is. So I'm going to take a guess at it too, and see. Hope it works out when we print it. Some problems that can happen when you do this with these type of files is that it can cause lots of problems with it printing, because you increase an Illustrator document's file size insanely large when you do something like this, and that can cause problems with printing. It can cause Postscript errors too, in terms of sometimes you might see a printer not print something and it's giving you a message that says IO error. That's why. It's a Postscript error, meaning that a file that was sent could have been a nested file like this, or it could have been a bad font, a font that doesn't have a Postscript file to it. And it caused the printer to say, you know what, I can't figure this out, so I'm not going to print it. Another thing that can happen is it can cause a Postscript error when sometimes you see files printing out and it looks like it's printing out dingbats and just sheets and sheets of dingbats, and that's what it's saying, is that it doesn't know what this is. It doesn't know what to do with it. The other thing that happens is it can also create a large file size that can cause problems. It takes a long time for it to save and an even longer time for it to print. So a normal AI file, as you can see, this is just a blank 8.5 by 11 inch file. It's only 700, just under 800 kilobytes. But if I nest an image into it, see how that jumps? It's almost 2 megabytes now. That's almost 1.5 times its normal file size unnecessarily. So we never want to nest images for a lot of these reasons that I've just kind of gone over. But this is what nesting images means and why you shouldn't do it when you're dealing with printing.